Hi, welcome back to another episode of Mountain Matters. I'm your host, Abigail Wescott, and joining me today is our new Dean of Students, Dean David Western. We're going to dive in a little bit.
You got it.
You're the new Dean of Students. You've only been here for a couple of months. Can you tell us about how that transition has gone so far?
This has been awesome, honestly. The job itself has been great because I've gotten to know the people here, and as far as the school is concerned, I didn't really know what to expect. I came here, and A, I didn't know where Grundy was, and B, I didn't know anything about the law school. But as I've gotten to know the faculty and the staff, I've really felt like it's a very warm welcome. I'm impressed with the students because I really believe that they're punching above their weight class. And it's nice to see that they actually come here for a purpose.
Yes.
The students are here because they actually want to make a difference in the world. I think it's unique that we live in a mountain area because you could say literally these students are trying to move mountains.
Yep. There's so many things that you learn in each role and each place that you're at, right? What is one takeaway that you really want to instill in ASL from your position that you held at Liberty?
Balance.
Okay.
I think that in my role at Liberty University School of Law, it was effectively the same as my role is here. And that's the well-being of our students. And I noticed that so many of them nowadays, they can't handle anxiety, depression, stress very well. And so they need to know how to cope. And really, it's apparent that our modern society where you can just basically engage over social media and never have a life to yourself or never know how to engage with other people. And undergraduate education is much easier than law school education. And so you find that you get a class in every law school that are not as resilient as former generations where you didn't have like sort of the on air all the time with social media presence and the stress of actually trying to put on a good image. And so that really grates on students. And so what may have been stressful several generations ago, where if you got a C or a D in law school and you'd be upset about it, but you'd move on. Some of these students, this is really stressful for them. Mm-hmm. And then you combine that with the fact that they're in a whole new environment and they may not have that same support system that they have. It really is a situation where I guess the one thing I learned is, how can you help students gain that resilience that they need to be successful? And so I see my role now here as making sure that I'm available at all times to give the students the resources they need to overcome the anxiety and the stress that they will inevitably face.
Yeah. So you mentioned being resilient as a student twice, and you have a military background, so thank you for your service. But can you tell me a little bit about how your military experience helped you and equipped you with characteristics of resiliency that you want to share with our students?
Sure. I often think that people believe that you should go through life and not experience high stressful events, and we try and protect people and pretty much put a bubble coating or bubble wrapping around individuals. And in my experience in the military, what I found is that it was those moments of extreme stress that caused me to be able to handle other situations very well.
Yeah.
I remember when I was on a C-130 and we came upon some unexploded ordnances on the runway and some fire. And just a funny story, I remember before going into Afghanistan, I was told by my logistics officer, you really need steel plates because you need to be protected from firing of steel plates. If you don't have those steel plates, then you're going to be in danger. And so I got some steel plates to replace my World War II flak vest that was really super old. And I had these steel plates. And I had them in my bag, but my bag was put in a pallet and it was netted down with pallets on the C-130. Well, as soon as we came under fire, I knew I needed my steel plates, which was stupid because if the C-130 is going to get shot down, then it doesn't do you any good. You have steel plates, you're going to die.
Yeah.
But my mind was like, I have to have those steel plates.
Yeah.
And I was so panicked, I went for the pallet and I was trying to rip the pallet apart to get to my steel plates. And I didn't even see until the end that I had literally bloodied my fingers trying to get to those steel plates because my mind was like so focused on, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
Right. And anyway, after I got through that ordeal and I really realized that there was nothing that I could do about it, I guess the perspective I got is that sometimes in life, there's going to be stressful moments. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to breathe, relax, If something bad happens, you deal with it at that moment.
Mhm.
And having gone through not just that experience, but many other experiences like it, and having seen a lot of things that are very difficult to see, it gave me perspective. So when I speak with students that are going through a rough time, I can just basically, I know they don't want to hear all my war stories. They just need to know that they have someone who understands and that can
Yep.
give them perspective, and that can help them find that it's really not as horrible in the moment as they think it might
Yes.
be. That if they relax, they breathe, that at the end of the day, it's going to be okay.
Yes, I listen to a lot of different podcasts and sermons and life coaching things. And one of the greatest takeaways that I've always uh, try to remember in tough moments is you can't always get the answer. You're not going to get the answer in the moment. You're going to get the answer or the reason or rationale after.
Yes.
You just have to get through that weird, awkward
That's
time
right.
period.
And if they can see that, then that's great. And if they still can't see it, then sometimes I say, let's just go for a walk.
Get outside. And
because once
what a better place, anyways, to do that than Grundy.
There's no better way to clear your mind than to just change your environment.
Yes.
Get away from whatever's stressing you.
Mm-hmm.
Take a break.
One of the most fun things, I guess, I saw in your bio and just with talking about you was the space law moot court that you did in India. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, what an experience that must have been.
Well, that was I was very fortunate. My teammate Mahim Puig was from Guatemala, and I met him during an international negotiations course. And I remember going up to him with the idea that, hey, you want to do this space law moot court thing? Mm-hmm. And he said, sure. And I asked him to do it because I've never seen anybody that was more capable of thinking on his feet. Mm-hmm. And so I said, look, I'll do the brief. We'll prepare it together. Mm-hmm. And we'll do this. And so we did, and we worked very hard on it. And we didn't know what was about to come. But we worked with Professor Henry Hertzfeld, who leads the Space Policy Institute in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. And as we prepared for our competition, not only did he moot us, like with all the experts at George Washington University, and we had to go through some excruciating ordeal of preparation, but I remember one time we were actually doing a moot in front of a camera like this, and I didn't know who we were mooting in front of. It was just a VTC, and there's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And I'll share a funny story, and then I'll go into the India. The question was on the rescue and return of astronauts. Okay. And for the North American competition, one of the briefs that we read was from Cornell. And they had this astrophysics, like science-y stuff that was in their brief that didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense to us, either one of us. And so Maheen and I just made fun of them incessantly. We just kept making fun of Cornell like a bunch of geeks, whatever. And so, but we kind of got the context of the vortex and whatever from the science-y, from just reading it. And so as we're doing this murder board for moot court, one of the questions that came was like, now can you explain how and why this pilot would have been able to navigate the ship to where he did at this particular location? And so I gave an answer. And then all of a sudden the camera goes off and says, oh yes, this is Professor so-and-so from Houston at NASA. We'd really like to, I want to know, how do you possibly believe that astronaut could have actually done X, Y, or Z, whatever. And I just totally was like, oh, great. This is like an astrophysicist from NASA asking me this question. So my mind immediately went to the Cornell brief. And I said, well, any basic understanding of astrophysics would tell you that if you look at the vortex of the spaceship, blah, 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 blah. And then I kind of paired it off what I've been making fun of the whole past week. And he goes, that makes sense. Thank you. Had he asked one follow-up question, I was toast. Done. And so that we were very fortunate because we had such amazing preparation for the North American competition that NASA actually funded us when we won the North American competition. They funded us to fly to India, and we actually argued in front of the 3 judges from the International Court of Justice.
Wow.
And what was great is that there was about maybe 30 teams in North America, about 30 teams in Europe, and there was over 60 teams in Asia Pacific. And so they took the top team from each region. We represented North America. We went up against Europe, and we beat the European team. And then in the finals, we were going against the Asia Pacific team. Well, we had about 20 law schools from India that had competed in this competition. We're in India, in front of the International Court of Justice, with 20 schools from India sitting in the gallery. Well, I knew that if, and this is a lesson I try and teach my students, know your audience.
Yes.
So when I got up to argue on behalf of these astronauts, I started with a quote that was directly applicable to the situation that was from Mahatma Gandhi. And I started the quote and I gave the quote. And then after I said, such was stated by Mahatma Gandhi concerning the importance of blah, 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 the whole place erupted with all these law students. And the judges were like, quiet, quiet, quiet. But I knew I had the home court advantage at that point.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was just an amazing, amazing opportunity.
And I just want to pinpoint too, you are currently wearing a space tie.
Snoopy in space.
The spaceman.
Having been in the military for close to 30 years, having been all over the world from Minot, North Dakota to Canberra, Australia, I've been everywhere. And I would say that this is the one place we've lived where I've been accepted and embraced as a family quicker than any other place that I've ever been.
That's awesome.
And it's because, we were immediately engaged with this church, and they are just incredibly loving and accepting. And so if I ever need anything, I reach out to some of the members of the church. They immediately can help me where I need to go. And so when I go in and I preach, it really is just, it's a joyful experience. It's almost like a breakaway from the regular job. And then as far as here at the school, because of the fact that our law students are not all your traditional students, many of them actually have had lives before. And being able to engage with them and help mentor them on their next steps is actually exhilarating. And so I just enjoy coming to work and working with these students. I enjoy working with the local church.
That's incredible. And I feel like that's just the warm welcome nature of this area makes it so much easier for students, staff, faculty, anyone that's moving this area to get acclimated quickly, which is so important to create a community base, especially with the stressor of just being a law student.
Okay, that's a good segue.
Yeah.
My father's name was LaCarl Wiley Prosser III.
Okay. I
should be LaCarl Wiley Prosser IV. But my father was a disc jockey, and when he got into radio, he changed his name to Bill Knight, Knight, so he could be Bill Knight at night. He has a very deep voice.
He legally changed his name.
Well, he took it on as a radio name.
Okay.
He hadn't legally changed it. He changed his name to Bill Knight. He then got a higher paying job.
Okay.
As he was driving into range of the radio station, he turned on the radio to see what format the radio station had.
Yeah.
And the radio said, on Monday, Kissin's gone Western, to make everything they'd gone country Western.
Yeah.
He thought, that's great. I can handle that, whatever. He didn't know what was really going on. The country Western fans were calling saying, that's great. The top 40s were calling in saying, that's horrible. Yeah. And the listenership went up through the roof. It was a ploy by the radio station to get more listeners. And it worked. And so on Monday, when he came in, they said, welcome, Bill Western. And they just gave him the name. Well, he liked the name so much, and he used that while he was in the radio for the rest of his career, that he changed his name to Bill Western. So then when he knew that he was going to have a son, he named me David Joseph so I could be DJ, the DJ. My daughter...
Oh my Lord, that's a great story.
So my daughter, we didn't want to mess with tradition. My daughter, the second born, I was the second born, we named her Lauren Adeline Western, L-A-W. So
my mind is blown right now.
So the name, that's a good way to segue into my personal life because, honestly, I did.
That is so cool. I mean, wow.
I did work in radio for a bit when I was with my dad when I was 14. And I tried to do the radio voice thing, but as a 14-year-old, the squeaky voice just
Can we hear a little bit? Like if you were to say something? Like, is there like an on and off switch? Because I feel like that's how I have to be sometimes.
No.
Abby,
No. I'd have to be in the mood for the music and this. Remember,
we can work on an intro song.
This is I'm not a Wolfman Jack or anything like that, but I was a kid of the '80s, and so I to this day my kids know I can't listen to anything but the '80s.
Really? Oh wow.
Well, I take that back. I love all music. Yeah. But I particularly like
the '80s. I understand. So DJ, thank you for all the stories. We're gonna end on like a little game called This or That. So I'm gonna tell you two different things, and you have to decide of the two which is your favorite.
Okay.
Okay. Movies or TV shows?
Movies.
Pizza or cheeseburger?
Pizza.
What kind of pizza?
Pineapple and black olives.
He's a pineapple man. Okay, interesting. Ice cream or brownies?
Ice cream.
Okay.
With brownies.
Oh, okay. Dean Western, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to learn more about you as a person, to hear all these wonderful stories. You've just lived an incredible life, and it's been great to get an inside peek. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.